The show that reveals how extraordinary items in our world are designed, constructed, and produced. See the engineering, the technology, and big ideas that make the world go round. Find out how it works. Coming up, the making of a Swatch watch, how 51 parts are assembled in just a few minutes. How it's possible to build a house in just 16 hours. And jeans in all shapes, sizes and designs. How they rough them up to create a cool finish. In Britain, we eat a staggering 38,000 tons of chips every week, and one of the most popular and healthy varieties is the oven chip. This factory in Holland makes oven chips, and not just a few either. It's one of the largest producers in the world. First of all, the potatoes need to be sorted by size. The boffins reckon that 8 centimeters is the length of the perfect chip. Potatoes which fall through this grid are rejected for being too small, and any that are too large to fall through this one suffer the same fate. In the world of the potato, size really does matter. Shaking has removed much of the soil on the potato's skin, and the rest is removed in a giant washing machine filled with 15,000 litres of salty water. The journey is over for any hollow spuds that float to the top. For the prime specimens which have made it this far, it's time to shed their skins. Half a ton of potatoes go into this tank at a time. First, steam is blown in. And then, as the hot potatoes are ejected, a blast of cold air causes the skins to burst. What remains is loose and can be easily removed. Any rotten potatoes trying to sneak through undetected are now removed by hand. After 20 minutes of processing, only the finest spuds remain. And here's what they've got to look forward to. Once they have been forced through the sharp grids at speeds of up to 60 miles an hour, a river of raw chips emerges. But even these have no guarantee of ever seeing an oven tray. There are still some tests left to come. It's down to size yet again. Any that are too small are blown away as they pass through a jet of air. The chips that have made the grade are on their way to the fryer, but they are being watched by a computer. It reads images at the rate of 1,000 per second and is on the lookout for any chips with black marks. After coming so far, a few unlucky chips fail at the final hurdle. At last, these chips have made it. Their future is secure. They're deep-fried in tanks filled with sunflower oil. The 7-meter tanks can fry up to 10 tons of chips in just an hour. 3 minutes later, they emerge slightly golden, fried just enough to be finished off in a home oven. As they pass through these refrigerated rooms, the chips are cooled down and finally frozen at -20 degrees Celsius. So the next time you dip your perfectly formed 8-centimeter oven chip into some ketchup, just think of the adventure it has had and the ones it left behind. Now, it may come as a surprise that in 2004 alone, more than £1.6 billion worth of prefabricated houses were sold in Britain. They may be quick to put up, but it takes a lot of hard work to bring it all together. They begin with the wood. Planks of spruce are painted on one side with a special emulsion that will protect them from the weather and prevent discoloration. The treated planks are stacked on top of each other. The joints fit together to form the exterior wall. After a thick wooden strut is cut to size, it is slotted into the wall to lock it into place. Cork-studded cardboard is fixed to the inside of the wall to help prevent drafts, but all of the walls have to be fully insulated too. They use wood shavings gathered from factory waste. But first, the shavings have to be pre-treated. They're tossed about in soda and a milk serum. The soda protects them from the fungus that can cause rotting, and the milk serum makes them fire-resistant. This is the top half of the front of the house. It's going to be stuffed with the shavings. They're sprinkled inside the cavity and then roughly squashed into shape. Finally, they're compressed to half of their original volume. And this is how it looks afterwards. Any surplus is hoovered up to be reused. Next, they fix a layer of cardboard onto the frame to seal in the layer of insulation. A plasterboard is pasted on top of that, and after, it's cut down to size. It's fixed into place by a very odd-looking gadget, a stapler on wheels. Next, a row of slats is attached which creates a cavity to house the electrical cables. A second plasterboard completes the wall, which is now 30 centimeters thick. Before the house goes to the site, the windows are fitted, so when it's put together it can be sealed instantly and no humidity can get in. All of the walls are brought together with the help of a pulley, and then shrink-wrapped for the journey ahead. They are loaded onto a lorry and then set off to become a new home. Early in the morning, the prefab arrives on site. A crane makes short work of hoisting the whole ground floor off the truck in one fell swoop. The walls have been stacked in the order in which they'll be erected to save time and energy. It's time for a key moment in the whole process. While a worker prepares some mortar to secure the house to its concrete foundations, the first wall is lifted into position. If it is even slightly out, the whole house will be skewed. Once the exterior walls are in position, the partitions can be slotted in. Wall by wall, it slots together like a three-dimensional jigsaw. With the ground floor walls in place, the fitters are quick to add the ceiling. The last thing that anyone wants is for the house to fill with rain. As each section weighs more than a ton, it's a race against time to get the job finished before nightfall. Even in the dead of night, the work continues. The next step is to fix the staircase into position. With that in place, they can build upwards, which they do without even stopping for a tea break. Just 16 hours after the prefab arrived on site, the assembly is completed. The last nail is banged in and all that remains is for the roof to be tiled. Fast, efficient and incredibly practical, the prefab truly is a spectacular achievement. Coming up after the break, rocks, rivets and hand-stitched seams, the making of designer jeans. And the construction of a wristwatch, how this automated production line produces a Swiss masterpiece. Time actually does equal money. For Swatch, at least. They've sold over 300 million watches worldwide. One of the first steps in making one is to fit the base with screws that will turn the wheelwork. The watches are made almost entirely by robots and machinery. There are 51 parts in each wristwatch. Soon the base will be joined by the body. But first, the body needs to be fitted with the wheels, which will turn the hands. There are 5 main wheels, 3 for the hours, minutes and seconds, and 2 that connect these together. Robotic arms pick up the tiny wheels and delicately place them into position. The calendar ring is next. It's connected to the wheels to display the date. Then the body is fitted onto the base. A conveyor belt takes them to the welding machine, where 2 will become 1. Here's how it works. As the 2 sections are clamped together, pressure causes the pins to oscillate, and this generates heat. The plastic melts, and when it cools down, the clockwork is fused. It's whisked along to the next stop where the face is cut out of a template and lifted into position. Once it's been flipped over, a disposable battery can be fitted. The clock hands have been made in strips and wound around these spools. They're punched out and put onto the faces. There are 6 on this watch, 3 to display the time and 3 for the stopwatch. To work properly, they must be parallel, so a worker adjusts them with tweezers. It's a fiddly job, but with the help of a huge close-up, it only takes a few seconds for each watch. Now they can set the time. They use an atomic clock for the job, so there'll be no excuses for being late. The watches are off again to get their steel cases fitted. First, the stopwatch pin is inserted. And then the watch itself. It's such a perfect fit that no glue is needed to hold it in place. These screws will allow the user to set the time manually. layer of silicone is put on the rim to make the watch waterproof. And after it's been set in the right position, the glass seals the silicone inside. Once the outer rim has been slotted into place, all that remains is to seal the battery, and the watch is finished. But it won't be leaving the factory until it has passed an endurance test. It's placed in a cabinet with 6,000 finely tuned timepieces for company and is left to sweat it out at temperatures of up to 50 degrees Celsius. If it survives the rotating hot box for 24 hours, it gets the nod and the all-important manufacturer's guarantee. With its strap attached, the watch is complete. All it needs now is an owner. But first, where would we be without jeans? Probably all wearing cords. And for those who like their denims to be a cut above the rest, here's a factory that makes designer jeans. There are 19 different pieces of fabric for each pair. First, they plot out all the different shapes on a computer to make sure they use every inch of denim. The pattern is printed on a huge sheet of paper for the cutters to snip around. All the pieces are coded to make sure an inside pocket doesn't end up getting stitched onto an inside leg. Downstairs, they're piling up the denim ready for the template. They cut between 20 and 40 layers at a time, depending on how thick it is. This lady takes her work very seriously. If the material isn't lying flat, the jeans will be botched. Once it's all straightened out, they put the pattern on top. Then they can get cutting. This cutter might look like an extra from Braveheart, but he's actually wearing the glove for a very good reason: to stop him cutting his fingers off with the compass saw. The cut denim is taken through to a noisy sewing hall, where around 300 people make up to 6,000 pairs of jeans a day. They'll use over 6 miles of denim and a staggering 750 miles of thread. That's nearly enough to stretch all the way from London to Madrid. The outer seams on the legs have to be invisible, so they fold both edges over and stitch from the inside. The jeans are handed from station to station, with some 25 people working on any individual pair. Finally, they add the studs. They have to sew the buttons on the old-fashioned way. The needlework's complete and is given a once-over from a quality controller. These jeans are going to be given a distressed look. They're inflated and then workers scuff them with sandpaper. It's all done by hand, so every pair is a one-off. When they get washed later, the colour will run from the scuffed areas to make them look worn. Believe it or not, this is actually the most expensive part of production. It takes quite a while to get the lines in the right place so they look like natural crease lines. The next step in making them look like well-worn classics is chemical treatment. They bleach them with potassium permanganate, which makes the dye fade without damaging the fabric. More durable denim gets a sandblasting. The jeans are fixed to clamps. And then the unit is sealed so that sand isn't flying all over the place. A worker sprays a pair with about a kilo of sand at 4 bars of pressure. He has to be careful not to spray the same spot for too long or the fabric will be damaged. Last, but perhaps least, there's the stonewash look. Apparently, some people think it's still fashionable. To get a stonewash effect, you need stones. 50 kilos of them. The batch goes through a 2-hour rinse cycle, and the denim takes a pummeling from the stones, removing some of the colour. When it's finished, a worker unloads the giant machine. The jeans and stones are loaded together into a large trolley. They'll be separated at the next stage. As the jeans are tipped out of the trolley, many of the stones are left behind. Those that remain are sieved out through holes in the dryer. All of them are collected and will be reused over and over again. Finally, the jeans get pressed. Again, this is done by inflating them, but this time with steam. And at last, they're finished. Whether they've been distressed, bleached, or even stonewashed, they'll soon be hitting a high street near you.